And again, is anybody else hungry? All right, moving along. We're gonna move along. I invited Dr. Jamie Wilson here tonight he's the superintendent of Denton ISD because there was some issues. Come on up.
Yep, you got it. First of all, I hope that everybody hasn't gone from hungry to hangry.
I know in the beginning he asked me what questions or what issues, and I wasn't for sure. I was just told bits and pieces, so I invited him out. Hopefully those people that wanted to ask the questions are here. And he also, did you bring that?
Well, yeah, Miss English is here, but I also want to say just a couple of things real quick. First, Scott, I know you may know this person, but there's a long-term person that graduated from Denton High School in the 70s, and I'll say this name, and some of you that went to Denton High will remember this. Her name is Stacey McDavid. She's an athlete. She's on the TWU Board of Regents. Yeah. All right, I bring that up to you all because Stacey and her family have done well for themselves financially. She provides a $25,000 scholarship to 4 Denton High School graduates every year to go to Texas Women's University, $100,000 a year, right? Every year, she said, until she runs out of money, which, if you know McDavid's car dealership, so that's going to take a long time, okay? So the thing I want to, it was Dee at the time, right? She's an athlete, ran track, whole thing.
I ran well.
So the reason I bring that up is because she spearheaded and curated the Cowgirl Museum at Will Rogers in Fort Worth. So we have a local resource who's done that kind of historical preservation work to tell stories that are going on that's tied to this community, a Denton High graduate. I think you guys can lean on. Take some tours, see how they've done some things with telling the stories. If you haven't been to that museum, it's amazing. And there's so much talent that's grown from this school system and this community that's out doing amazing things all around this state that can bring that right back here and tell those stories. And I know how many people know who I'm talking about? I say Stacey D.
Yeah.
So you guys know who I'm talking about, that family. And she's bringing it back. And so when you were talking about scholarships and different pieces for in Quakertown Story and those kinds of things, when you really get creative and you start piecing those things together and you have a philanthropic mind like Stacey does to give back to our community and to our first generation kids, it's a great resource for us to use. So I don't think we've done as good a job in our community at bringing those folks back to help give back, because people here invested in them and they went and did their thing, right? But she came back and is doing it, TW Board of Regents, and working with our kids from that. So that was over there talking come so. I thought it was important to get that up.
Yeah, thank you.
A couple of announcements. Back to school fairs for the district. This Saturday, it's at Braswell High School. Backpacks, school supplies, whatever else. Next Saturday, the 6th of August, Ryan High School. So we've grown to where we have to have 2 as we work through that. The new Denton High School is semi-operational right now. The volleyball girls started in there today with camp. Still trying to work out picking people up and that kind of thing, because the West Debt Connection West isn't done yet, but that's okay. We'll get there. Short-term inconvenience for long-term gain. Orientation happens next week for those kids at the new Denton High School, and their parents will be coming at night and doing some things. The history of our Interfaith Coalition of Women that help with the integration of our schools, that display will be curated and replicated just like what you see next to at the park right here in town, right? We've got the same kinds of elements that are going to be involved in that. And there's 2 timelines. There's a Denton High School timeline and a Fred Moore timeline until they integrate and tells that story. So that's actually in the school building in a display case to get that history going. If you haven't seen the historical marker at Fred Moore High School, please go by and look at that. The story that's right there, it got dedicated this summer. That's all there. If you haven't seen that, it's really, really good. one of our Denton High School students did that project and wrote everything out and commissioned that and got that designation for Fred Moore High School. And then, let's see if I got all the rest of it in here. All right, so the next thing I have is any glows or grows, questions you guys had for me, because Ms. Johnson reached out and said some people had some questions. I said, well, I have an answer, but I can get one. So.
Can we take a tour of Denton High?
Sure.
Before the school opens?
We hope so. Here's what we're doing. We're trying to get all moved in, because when you take a school that's been on Fulton Street and you say, what do you keep in, what are you working through? We're trying to let our teachers get all moved in, all acclimated. Think about keys and key card access, and it's just a lot that we're working through this summer to get through that. But Mr. Hayes will be setting all that up and get a chance to make that happen. Also put on just get thinking about it's going to happen this fall. The C.H. Collins and Carrico golf tournament is always at Oakmont in October. Sometime before, at the very beginning of the football season, we will be dedicating a new Carrico Stadium out east. So just be sure to look out for that information, because we'll involve all the Fred Moore folks and the Carrico folks. And I told them all, I said, we may do something in the game, it's a ribbon cutting or whatever, but everybody's really going to want to have a breakfast or a barbecue the next day to sit around and talk and tell stories. And we're looking forward to that. So just keep that looking forward. What we're trying to do is make sure we figure some things out before we start opening a bunch and having guests into the house. So it's working through that. But.
I got one thing. I can honestly say I got legs from Carrico and from Coach Collins.
Hey, well, let me tell you something. If this development's going right, you're going to get some more. Scott, you don't get this development right, there's some people going to be lining up. So anybody has some questions for me?
Is there going to be any help for the Bronco football team? We retired, we alumni, we graduated, we tired of seeing the blue, we tired of Guy and Ryan steady being in the headline for the newspaper.
We've been pushing that forever.
For DHS to be, when I graduated, it was in senior high school. So that's how far back it goes. So what help are you bringing?
Yeah.
So
I graduated in 1981.
So my wife graduated in high school in 1986. Whenever Coach Atkinson came and was here for 4 or 5 years, made the turn. They did really, really well as you worked through it. And I just have to be completely frank with a lot of it. When you have 2 very successful programs here in town, and you have a lot of our families that rent and go to different places, they move with their feet where they want to go and do. So Denton High School has the highest SAT scores of any school in the district. They have more students that go to Ivy League schools than any school in the district. You talked about the alumni base, it's giving the scholarships back. They're as successful in all their other sports as any other school in the district. And all I ever hear about is Denton High School football. Right? So we want it to be good too, right? So you have to remember, when something is not going as well as you want it to, what do? Well, can you get somebody new in to lead them? Sure you could. Who's going to take it? Who wants it? What's the timing of that? Coming out of COVID, building a new school, you drop in classification, the enrollment, they dropped an enrollment down from Denton Ryan, so they're not in the same classification as Denton Ryan anymore. That's because we're working on the enrollment numbers. That's the stuff that we're trying to do and trying to help. So LaGrone Academy opened this year, and it enabled some kids from Denton High to go to LaGrone Academy that aren't in band, choir, orchestra, athletics, student government, and don't want the full high school experience. They go to LaGrone, they don't count their enrollment. That helps them with their classification. So there's a lot of things that play into that. But whenever, people, you have to remember this. You have 2 schools in this community that are traditionally in the top 20 in the country. Right? Now, I want them all to be the top 20 in the country, but to have 2 in the top 20 in one school district, nobody else in the country can say that. Right? And then you have the new Brownsville school, which is entirely different. It's all everybody knew from someplace else, right?
They went to the playoffs last year, didn't they?
They were close, right? But they're not, you gotta remember, Brownsville's Denton ISD, but it's the town of Little Elm, the town of Aubrey, it's not the town of Denton. Our other three schools are the town of Denton. And it's a different mindset. So here's what I'll tell you. The answer to your question is we want it to be as good as you want it to be, right? We do. But you can't just keep starting over all the time. And timing is important. And when COVID comes out, it's important. The facility they moved into is important. And you begin working through that. But I'll tell you, I'm spending my time working on the academic preparation of all these kids and making sure they get opportunities to leave. My daughter graduated from Denton High School, graduated from Tech, 3.5 years, opened a business. She's an entrepreneur. She's being highly successful in the world, right? And I have to tell you, she came from Keller High School where every single kid looked exactly the same. That's not Denton High School, right? And we're proud of that. We celebrate that. That's what it's about. So I want you guys to be proud of your school and be proud of all the rest of the things that go on. Because it's not just about Friday nights, right? And rally around your friends that have kids that go there, because I know there are kids who are at Ryan, whose dads played at Denton High, and there are kids that are at Geyer, whose dads played at Denton High, and there are kids at Denton High, whose kids played at Denton High, right? And everybody's like, well, I want my kid to go play at AT&T. I get it, completely understand it. But at the same time, the reason this community has grown is because of how we invest in all of our kids in all of these areas. If you were to tell me 15 years ago that you'd have 15 different kids get accepted to Ivy League schools from one high school, where over 50% of the kids in that school are on free and reduced lunch, that is amazing. And 3 of those kids got accepted to all Ivy League schools, right? That's what we should be talking about, is the academic preparation of our kids. And we'll get there on the other stuff, but let's find the good in everything that we do and work on the stuff we want to improve. Yes, sir.
I have a question. With the school year beginning to start up, what kind of security measures are you putting in place? Because the last thing I want to see is then turn into Uvalde.
No, I agree with you. So there's lots of things that are in place already, right? And a lot of things we can't talk about because it compromises the safety. Right. But let me tell you this. Our committee, our safety committee, met last Thursday. That's all posted. It's all online. We're talking through all the things. But we work to harden our schools as much as you can without making them look like a prison, right? We have emergency operation procedures. Some of the things we do in our district that are different than a lot of places. And let me give you a little bit of an example. In the city of Denton, we have City of Denton Police Department, Texas Women's University Police Department, North Central Texas College Police Department, University of North Texas Police Department. The last thing we need is a Denton ISD Police Department. Uvalde had their own police department, right? So what we do in Denton, all of our secondary schools have student resource officers. The high schools have at least 2. Brownsville has 3 because of enrollment. The middle schools have 1. We have over 20. The elementary schools, what we do is we work with the city on making sure that the police officers doing their beats do their paperwork at our schools. They can sit in our parking lots. They can come in and eat lunch for free. They can be in our library doing some of the work that they've got to get done anyway. We work with the city of Denton on that. And the school district pays the city of Denton for a lieutenant above and beyond the sergeant that supervises the student resource officers, so that they're at the chief's table and with communication, and this person coordinates all the safety for all the rest of the district, City of Denton, Town of Little Elm, Corinth, Denton County Sheriff, okay? But that whole communication piece is the most important, right? So you'll see us put out some information next week that talks about the enhancements and the things that we're doing. And I'll say, when I say enhancements, it's a communication enhancement. It's not drastically different than what we've been trying to do. We have some things in place that you guys would be like, okay, we're good. But it's just making sure people know that we're working through it and seeing how those things play into it. ballistic film. All of our entrances have ballistic film on the glass. But here's what I'll tell you. This is the statistic that nobody ever talks about. Of all the shootings at all the schools all across the country, in the history of time, we have never lost a student behind a locked door. Locking doors, making sure you secure your entries. Now, parents don't like it sometimes when they can't get in, they want to go in this door, they're trying to do different things, and then people complain to us about they can't get in their school, do all this. So we have to all be more vigilant about locking our doors. And the other part is that don't tell you the same thing about your cars in the parking lot, in your neighborhoods, lock your stuff, valuables out of sight. Never lost a student behind a locked door in the history of this country. And so those are things we can control as people who care about our children. And you need to ask those questions. What are you doing to make sure doors are locked? So, somebody asked me that, Dr. Wilson, what are you doing? All right, here we go. First, all of our locks and all of our exterior doors, our maintenance and operations department, it's part of their job to check those. So somebody says, well, how do you know they're checking them? I go, well, here's the thing. I believe that we empower our people to do what they're supposed to do, and they can fix that door over there without somebody somewhere having to put in a heat ticket to get it done. Okay? Everybody heard of that work order thing? Well, I can't do anything without a work order, right? That is the biggest form of no self-accountability and responsibility that there is while waiting on a work order to do it. Look, if you see something needs to be fixed, fix it. We don't need to be waiting 3 or 4 days for somebody to get a work order, for it to come down, somebody sign it. So what we do is we ask our maintenance and operations guys, when you see something needs to be addressed, address it. And then we come back with our leaders and we check stuff, see if it's working like it's supposed to, and then we put something in, and those things are done within 24 hours. But we don't ever want anyone to have to sit around and wait for somebody to tell them to fix something when they see that it's broken. That's inefficient use of everybody's time. And that just makes all the sense. And so at the ends of our school hallways, the teachers that are housed there during the school year, we're going to ask that one of the things we need you to do is make sure that those doors are secured. Passing periods, we're out there with the kids, check, walk, that kind of thing. I know people always want to put something in the door when they're going inside and out, to not have those kinds of things happen. But it's just like everything else. When you have a community that is really supportive of their schools and you can get comfortable and you're not as vigilant as you should be with some of those processes, just as people, we all get that way, right? And that's when you least expect it, you better have your guard up, be ready to go. So changing those kind of behaviors and working through it. So it's a great question. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry. I am so sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I have 3 kids in DISD. We recently moved to the 9-week reporting period.
Yes.
I have a niece in elementary school. 9 weeks is extremely long.
Right.
I have several degrees, so I understand where we're trying to go to with that. Is there some type of reporting process that should be in place?
Yes.
In the 9 weeks?
So you should be getting something at least every 3 weeks from your kids' teachers. Now you got to remember, please don't, when I say this, do not relate it to the last 2.5 years. Because we've just been trying to keep things moving during COVID, right? But you should be, we've just been paddling, right? So you should be getting something from your teachers. But I want to give you this example. The most important thing that we do as a school system is prepare people for college, career, military, or some kind of work where you can make a living, above living wage job. That's what they do when they leave us. Everything we do, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 9 weeks, end of year tests, all that is formative to get to this, right? So if your student is struggling during that 3-week period, your teachers will be letting you know that. Because you should be knowing how you can help, how you can partner, and we're going to get better at that now. We were rocking pretty good in 2019. I mean, we were really crushing it with regard to that. We were just about to be probably the only A-rated school district in the state with our demographic. Okay, we will get back to that, but everybody had to learn through this. Can you come into school? Can you not come into school? Can visitors come in? And so just know that it's all getting back. we're learning more, and we'll be better communicators.
And part two is if the COVID numbers go down, which doesn't look like it's ever gonna happen, but we're gonna keep praying, will we be able to have middle school graduations? We missed out on a lot of things, and I thought we could have done some things via virtual, from that middle school transition to high school.
We've, as a district, we've never done middle school graduation.
Or award ceremonies, maybe.
Well, award ceremonies, they'll do that, they'll get that stuff back going again like they will for sure. They'll figure out ways. Here's the thing, we have just been keeping it moving, and we had to, anything that wasn't absolutely essential necessary, it got put over on this shelf. And I know that some kids missed out on some things with regard to that, but the other part is remember what we're trying to get them to, and that's the end. And we have, 99.5% graduation rate. As with the LaGrone Academy, this year we had 80 kids that went there for the first time. Remember this, you had kids at Denton High, Ryan, Guy, or Brownsville, who had been in the same high school for 3 years, made the decision to go to LaGrone, 80 of them for their senior year. I don't know how many people would have given up their senior year in their high school to go to someplace new, okay? 100% of those kids met their college career military readiness piece. So it's a choice piece. Same thing's happening at Fred Moore High School, it's a choice piece for them. And you have your comprehensive high school as well. So lots of opportunity for our kids. Great questions. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to speak on the half of Denton High School. I graduated in '73 and I went in '71. But we really happy now that we have got a new Denton High School, and where our anger had came, we had pushed and pushed and pushed. When we started at Denton High was the only school in Denton.
Right.
So we never could ever figure out why everybody got new schools in Denton. You know, you probably knew this a lot. Why Denton High never did. We never did get an opportunity to get real coaches. All these coaches that our grandkids and stuff have graduated went on. We come to find out some of these coaches and stuff, now the kids were smart, they ain't got to worry about them, oh, they just went to school for athletes, But we could never figure out, why was Denton High basically just got thrown under the bus?
Right.
And the teachers, the coaches, they weren't real coaches, we wasn't anything. But I just want to say I'm just so glad and grateful that we finally got it in high school.
Right.
Cause Guy, you done had 2 schools, look like 3 bills, we still never got a school.
Right.
So.
Well, that's a great point. Let me tell you a little bit about what we did in 2018. One of the things we talked about when we got to do Denton High School was that was a $750 million bond package. $750 million that we had to ask our community to approve. 75% approval rating. 3 out of 4 people, okay? And here's the truth of that. It did not raise the tax rate. In fact, Denton ISD has the lowest tax rate of all the school districts in Denton County, right? One of the reasons we have the lowest tax rate is because when you have some of these developments that come in that put property on the tax rolls, that helps pay for this new things coming in. So in 2018, whenever we went out to the community, we said, the residents of Denton have been helping build schools in communities that people weren't even here yet. And their kids are going to school in the oldest buildings in town. And then when I went outside of the community, and I would go to Aubrey or Little Elm or out in the eastern section, I would say, look, the residents of Denton voted to build these schools for you before you were ever even here. This was a peanut farm, right? And now it's time to make sure we do some of both. Take care of the growth and then go back through. So in this last bond election, there were 5 rebuilds of schools. There was Strickland. If you've been by the new Strickland or been inside of that, it's amazing. It's not even the same place. Okay, guys, the kids don't act the same as they used to, right? They carry themselves with more pride. And Strickland Middle School actually has a fine arts center and an auditorium in it because that's what the school had before, so we kept it in, we redid it, the whole thing. The only 2 middle schools at Denton ISD that will have that theater and fine arts center are Strickland and Calhoun. All the new ones around the different places, it's part of their cafeterias, but not at Strickland and Calhoun, not the originals, right? So Strickland's been redone. Woodrow Wilson turned into Nettie Schultz. man, did we learn some things about working with the neighborhoods on that? That's a hard thing to do. My wife went to Wilson. I have a brick that was from the original building. We're gonna have some bricks from the original Denton High School too, but I have a brick from the original building. It's in my office. She made sure she stuck it right up there, and I was like, well, that's great. So we'll go Wilson. We still have the new Denton High, which opens this year. That's 3 out of 5. The next 2 are Calhoun and Newton Razor. And those 2 should be rebuilt as well. So as soon as Denton High gets moved into their new building, we have an architect that has designed a new Calhoun at the old Denton High School, but taking out the oldest portions, keeping the new part, like the gym that's new, that building along the street where the buses drop off on the south side. That stuff that's still new and good. The auditorium, keep all that, but all that stuff where Scott got his licks in that hallway, out there in the hallway.
No, mine wasn't in the hallway.
In the field house. On the field.
No,
Let me say this. Where Scott told everybody about the leaks he got in the hallway, all that's gonna get gone. And on that piece of property will be Calhoun Middle School, and then on the baseball field side, we're rebuilding Newton Razor, right? So we won't have to deal with that whole, have kids going to school while they're having construction like we did at Wilson, which then allows us to come back at Newton Razor and expand early childhood services for 3 and 4-year-olds, provide some renovation to that campus in this next bond, and really where those neighborhoods are, where those kids need that service, make those things happen. So that's the 5 in town. Our next bond committee will start this fall for a potential election next May. And if anyone's interested in getting involved in that, just let me know. You can send me an email, and we'll get you on that group. Because what happens, we meet about 6 times. I believe they will be 2 meetings in September, 1 in October, 2 in November, and then 1 in December, about 2 hours a time. And the community will tell us what needs to happen. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of growth that's coming in the eastern section of the district. I probably need at least three elementaries, new elementaries out in that section by 24. Okay, by 24. I've already got the property, I've already got the architectural designs, but people, you guys kept the secret of Denton to yourselves as long as you could. But it is going to be the center of the Metroplex. With the new Denton High School being where it is, Cole and Hunter out west, Hunter Ranch being to the south to Robeson Road, Cole Ranch being north upwards of the airport, you will see that those 2 developments are going to grow simultaneously. Cole will go from the north south, Hunter will go from the south north, and they'll meet in the middle, kind of where 2449 is, that goes out to Ponder, and the eventual expansion of Loop 288. I think that's some time away, but we've already got high school sites out there, middle school sites out there, and elementary school sites in both of those developments for future growth. In this next bond, I don't think anything for that area of the city will even be necessary. In this bond, it'll be primary elementary schools. If we have to do a rebuild of Jennings or Borman or any of those kinds of things, we can certainly talk about that. But that's what the community tells us to do. Then the next thing this community will help us do is, once Calhoun moves, what are you going to do with the old one, right? So lots of ideas that play through that, and here's how we work that. It's really 2 questions. And it's really this simple, 2 questions. Number 1, what programs do you have that you run out of space for? Right? In other words, if we had more space, we could have more kids doing that. If we had more high school type stuff, or LaGrona Academy type stuff, or early childhood type stuff, or you name it. Or what programs do you not have that you want to offer? Something like, do you want to have a fine arts academy for 5th through 8th graders? Where our kids whose parents don't have the resources to teach them dance and jazz and ballet and tap and those things can go and learn those skills and then go be strutters and Phillies and what are those, Bengal Bells, whatever those things are, Silverados we got. You know, that kind of questioning what our community wants to do when we backfill that. What does that look like? And that's why I love being here, because it's, you just get to keep doing that. And you know, I'm a flow baby. I was born in flow. Have all my degrees from North Texas and Texas Women's, and then now I'm in the school district, so I guess I've been in every classroom in this city at some point or another. And it's a special place to me, a special place to you, and I just appreciate having a chance to come and visit with you. I probably need to get out here more, so y'all quit talking about it on me, but anyway. Yes, sir.
One quick question, or one quick statement.
Sure.
We'd like to invite you to our development office, talk about protecting children.
Right.
We're installing at Mr. Brown's office and our development office and the whole hotel, Pivot Technologies, which eradicates 99.9% of all known pathogens in the world with our UVC 222 nanometer light fixtures that will protect every children, every classroom, every hotel room, every restroom, and you will no longer have to wear a mask or have any of that visual pollution, all the separators.
I love it. I like it when he said you no longer have to wear masks, because half the people disagree one way or the other. I'll tell you that.
If you'll come to our development office, we'll show you.
Yeah. Well, again,
And Dr. Burgess knows all about
yeah,
this.
that's good. He and I have talked about it some.
As far as UVC, we'd like to have you down.
Sure.
You can put it in your retrofit or your new school.
It's good. Cheryl?
Last question, sir.
I think some people wanted to know, did the Bronco make it to the new campus?
Yes.
Number one.
So the Bronco in the travertine tile at Denton High School did arrive safely to the new school. We put it on a pedestal right there in the entrance of the rotunda. And, you know, that rotunda, if you haven't seen that rotunda at night, drive by there, it lights up purple. Those are LED lights that we can change colors. So like if we want to do something in support of Ukraine, we can make that thing half blue, half yellow. If you want to do something in support of Susan B. Komen for breast cancer awareness, you can light it up pink.
Purple for domestic violence.
Domestic violence.
Made it over.
You can do a variety of things.
Where you get that hard page, huh?
The other thing is
Drag it on.
that building was built with safety and security from the standpoint each hallway goes in each different direction, has a door that comes down halfway through where you can isolate threats inside and outside of the school. So like if the hallway, I don't know exactly how many classrooms it is, but Gerard, you looked at it, you saw it. If it's 20 classrooms long, 10 in, there's a door that can come down if there's a threat on one side or the other. So that we can isolate different pieces. It's very, very, very much in tune with that. In addition to ballistic film and things like that on the entrances of the doors. It doesn't ever keep somebody from getting in, but it buys you some time. And we just need a couple minutes, right? Cheryl, do you have something?
One more, there was some concern about, I guess, a new development that's gonna be on Woodrow, how it would impact the enrollment over here, and would we be rezoning for the district at some point?
I think we have to get used to the fact that we will be doing some rezoning from this point forward all the time. We've been pretty isolated, and I'm gonna use it this way, inside Loop 288, because all the growth has been outside of it. But we purchased a piece of property, well, I'll tell this story. Mayor knows this because we worked on it. But you guys remember the old Denton ISD administration building on University? Okay, I have to tell you, every day I drove by it and those blinds were all crooked in there and a homeless person would creep out from underneath or whatever. It just drove me crazy. So we worked with Razor Properties and we wanted to get that back on the tax rolls to help our community. So we worked with Philip Baker and Razor Properties and we swapped that site for a school site on Riney Road. Riney Road is right there at Riney Road and Bonnie Bray, where the substation is across the street, the high school is on the other side of Bonnie Bray. And it adjoins North Lake Park. So the school site actually is on the north side of North Lake Park, on that western edge of North Lake Park. You guys can kind of visualize that. And we were able to swap that property for that acreage for a future elementary school site. So in fall of '24, probably next fall of '23, we'll have to do some rezoning of some communities here in Loop 288, inside the loop, because that school will open, and we'll be able to pull some things, west a little bit, and try to get University and our big roads to be some dividing lines so kids don't have to cross with bikes and walking and that kind of thing. We always start there and then see where we end up. So, but rezoning is part of a fast growth. When I came to Denton in 2005, I hadn't been here as long as some of you guys, but we had just under 16,000 students, and I believe next year we'll have 33,500. At one point, we built 11 schools in 10 years, and not one of those was in the city of Denton until this last bond referendum. We did 5 rebuilds. So it's really a great thing to do, to be a part of.
Thank you
So,
so much.
any other questions?
You're done.
Thank you guys. Appreciate
Let me just say, we usually on the whole an hour, but I know that we've been having several people come out and talk, because toward the end of the year, we don't meet because of the holidays and all that. So our last group that came out is planning, Ron, and this is our last group that came out tonight. So, anybody hungry yet? There's pizza and wings over here. Audrey will be more than happy to pass it out. So, and I know the city brought a lot of people, so